I'm good.
You look so good.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm actually feeling pretty refreshed. I had like a little writer's retreat this week. My mom went on vacation, so I borrowed her house for a couple of days. Got like all those nagging tasks done and like just some writing done that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm actually feeling caught up for the first time in like 3 years.
You look so good.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm actually feeling pretty refreshed. I had like a little writer's retreat this week. My mom went on vacation, so I borrowed her house for a couple of days.
Is it just me that's echoing?
And like, no, I hear it too, Silvia. For a long time, so I'm actually feeling caught up for the first time.
Is anyone playing the live stream?
That's
Maybe.
so good.
Thank you so much.
Okay, there's a problem.
This week.
Is it just me?
Oh, okay. That was from my hand.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. I'm working on the live stream. So I didn't know that my mic wasn't muted. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. Yep. So that we can have this recorded and so we can have more people have access to it. And yep. Okay. Yep. I think we have 2 more minutes. Then.
Yeah, 2 more minutes. And
Yep.
we're like. I really can't wait for this session to start. I'm like, my mind is open and like my pen and paper is ready. I'm ready to jot and take notes from both of you. And like, I'm so excited about this opportunity. And I want to thank you personally for taking our time to come out and like share your story with us. Like, it's really rare, right? To see experts like you come out and share, your journey and what you've learned like throughout your journey as a freelancer, the mistakes you've made, right? So I appreciate your time, right? And I'm sure the whole brand, my Freelance HQ brand, also appreciate your time here. I want to say thank you once again before the meeting starts, right? So thank you, Silvia. Thank you, Cynthia. Your name kind of like rhyme, Silvia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're similar.
Thank you so much for having me. I like such an honor to be here and get to talk to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we just have a minute left. Oh my God.
Yep, you can start.
Wow. Okay.
Please, you can start.
We can start.
Yes. I think the moderator will moderate, and we're good to go.
Okay. Who should go first? Who should start?
Yeah, who's
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think she's meant to start, but I don't know. I think she's having issues with her network, so I'll just take it from here. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today with Silvia and Cynthia, right? Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Silvia, for joining us today. And thank you everyone for taking our time to come out and learn from experts, right? I'll be doing a brief intro of Silvia first, because she's our first speaker, right? And then Cynthia. So Cynthia is an Upwork expert and coach. She has trained a lot of freelancers and helped them to become top rated on Upwork. Wow, wow, wow. That's really mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing. She has over 9 years of experience, and she has been sharing our journey on how to become a freelancer and how to be successful as a freelancer on social media. So Sylvia, did I do a good job introducing you?
Yeah. So that pretty much sums it up. It's actually it's going on 10 years this year, which is crazy to think about, but yeah.
Okay, so how did you start, like 10 years ago? What prompted you to start your career as a freelancer?
Yeah, so honestly, I always tell this story, but it's like I was just bored and I wanted to make some extra money to, honestly, I think it was concerts back in the day. That's what I wanted to spend it on. So I went on Google and I just looked up how to make money online. And I think, like, I remember a listicle article came up with Upwork being one of the options. Back then it was Odesk. And I just created an account. It probably honestly sucked back then. And it just started from there. When I first started, I actually was offering more artistic type services. So it was illustration, graphic design, and stuff like that. Eventually, through like browsing through Upwork and just scrolling through the job posts, I found a lot of clients were looking for virtual assistants. So that was my second venture. That's where I went after the illustrations. And I started offering a lot of stuff, but the main thing people wanted help with was social media. And I really liked doing it for the clients. So it's kind of like it built upon itself and I learned on the job, which was pretty cool. And yeah, nowadays I do mostly social media management, some video editing as well, since social media is so video focused nowadays. And yeah, and I help freelancers on the side because I was getting a lot of questions about, just day-to-day things. And I was like, why not make content about it? Why not create a course about it so I can direct people to it and, help as many people as I can, because I wish I had that help back when I first started. I was pretty lost and I did make a lot of mistakes. So yeah, that's my main goal and my story.
So I think like everyone actually made a lot of mistakes starting out, right? Everyone has like unique experience, right? So mistakes are just like normal, right? So you can just minimize it, right? So what are the mistakes that you made starting out, like the things you would advise newbies that are going into freelancing today to avoid, right?
The number one that always comes to mind is how low I used to charge back in the day. And not just how low I started, because I started at $5 an hour, which I honestly don't recommend anyone start. But the worst part wasn't the $5 an hour, was how long I stayed there. Like, because I didn't know I could raise my rates. I didn't know how much to charge. Like, I was completely lost in that sense. And if had someone told me, like, look up other freelancers, check out what they're doing, check out what's like market rate for these services, it would have made me a lot more money, because I definitely left a lot of money on the table. So that's probably the number one mistake I made. But honestly, my profile and the way I wrote my overview and my proposals, it probably fit with the $5 an hour, because I also didn't know how to sell my value. So, it kind of goes hand in hand, but knowing what you should charge and knowing how to kind of prove that to the client, not that we should prove anything, but knowing how to justify that is a very big thing, that as soon as you can learn that, it'll be better.
Wow. Wow. So like, did you get any resources on your journey that helped you, to get back on your feet, right? Because you said you were earning $5 for a long time. So were there any advantages, or would I say a pedestal like that gave you an advantage in the long run to actually increase your rate? Did you read something? Did you meet someone? How did you know when? Like, okay, it's time. I'm done with bad clients. How did you know that moment?
It was actually a client that told me, I want to pay you more. And I was like, that makes no sense, right? Like, why would you want to pay more? And she was like, you're worth more. Like, this work is worth more. So she taught me that, I was charging very little, but not only that, she told me to, with each new client, and I tell this to everyone I meet, with each new client, especially in the beginning, raise your rates a little bit, because there's a lot that we learn in the beginning, especially with those first few clients, not just about the skill itself, not just in my case, like about social media, but about working with clients and the customer service and everything that goes along with it. So it's definitely important to raise it as soon as possible. But yeah.
Right.
Lesson learned.
I definitely agree with you. I agree with you. Thank you for sharing that. So aside that, were there any bottlenecks, like aside you starting without knowing what you wanted to do or what you were actually doing? Were there other obstacles that you faced as a freelancer on Upwork? Right, the platform has actually changed, right from the moment you started as Odex to now, right? The platform is more saturated with different people, with different clients, both fake and genuine. It takes an expert eye to figure out, okay, this is the job I'm meant to apply for, right? This is a bad client, this is a good client, right? So what were the other obstacles you experienced that you would advise other people trying to make it on Upwork to avoid today?
Yeah, so the first one that came to mind was like boundaries around like knowing what you're comfortable with, like when you want to work, how you want to work, like how many revisions you want to provide to clients. And more than setting those boundaries is sticking to them, because I made this mistake with one particular client that comes to mind, that we set boundaries for the working hours that I would be on. And then I broke those boundaries myself, because I was like, I'm not doing anything, so why not get some work done? And then he started expecting that work to be done at those extra hours. And when I didn't do it, he would be confused and message me, why are you not online? Stuff like that. So it's definitely not just saying I'll work from X hour to X hour, but it's, even if you want to do work outside those hours, just maybe deliver it inside the window that you said. That's a good way to set yourself up for success. But also you were mentioning like looking at job posts, and I was talking to someone earlier today about this, that I feel like these days I have an internal filter that's so well developed that I instantly know what's crap and what I shouldn't apply to. So usually my process, whenever I'm applying to jobs, which I don't do as often these days, is I'll make a search. I'm sorry, someone has their mic on and it's echoing. But I'll open up a search and I'll open up each job that I'm interested in a new tab. And then I'll go through every one of them and I'll delete anything that I, deem as crap. And usually what I look for is obviously feedback from past freelancers, what the client has paid in the past. You can see like the average they pay. So that can give you an idea. How long ago the job was posted, how long ago the client last saw the job post, because sometimes if they posted it 30 days ago, but they saw it yesterday, It's better to
Okay.
apply to it than if they posted 30 days ago, but the last time they saw it was 30 days ago. That's probably an inactive client.
Yes.
I also look at how many people submitted proposals. Obviously, if like 50 people submitted, I won't, or I may not, unless I really want to. And also if they're like interviewing someone, if they're interviewing like 5 people already, I'm like, they found their 5 that they're interested in, so I'm not going to bother. And also I look at obviously what they say, if they're too demanding and stuff like that. And if it really fits what I'm looking for. But I think that's like something you work on with time, and you detect what are the red flags for you specifically. And that comes with experience.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing that expertise with us. So I want to ask, like, have you ever been a client on Upwork? There's one thing to be a freelancer and there's one thing to be a client on that platform.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard stories from other clients, right, on that platform saying freelance clients are not actually really the problem, right? Freelancers do not apply to jobs well enough. So I've heard stories of freelancers sending single line proposals, sending proposals without samples, right? So have you actually been a client on Upwork?
I have hired people on Upwork, but mostly that I met outside Upwork. But I do review proposals from other freelancers on a weekly basis. So I do know sort of the mistakes that are commonly made. I honestly feel like I'm more used to seeing one-line job posts than job proposals. Honestly, I feel like the bulk of the proposals that people send me are miles long. Like, they're super long, and the client, usually what I tell them is the client's too busy for that. Get to the point quicker and just focus on what's really important, and you can chat about it later with a client if they're interested to know more. And also they can look at your profile, right? If they want to know more about you. So, don't talk about where you went to college, where you worked before, unless it's like really, really relevant. Just tell them what you can do, what you want to do for them. Start with something that really catches their attention, because if they're looking through the list of the various freelancers that applied, they will only see like 1 or 2 lines. So really start with the most important thing and focus on only what's important. I personally really like sending videos with my proposals. So they get to know me a bit better. So I'm just talking to the camera and just going over the job posts and stuff like that. So my proposals are usually like a paragraph or 2 lines or something like that. They're pretty short, but they have the information that's necessary. So it's not just making it short, it's focusing on what's important. And again, that's something that comes with time, but it's just knowing that more is not better, not always, will be key, because I see a lot of proposals that focus on the wrong things, when there could be things that were better for that person to focus on. So like, for example, I've seen someone mention like they had like 4 years of experience or something like that, really down in a proposal. And I'm like, you should lead with that. You should start with the selling point. And a lot of people just, I have 4 years of experience outside Upwork, but since I don't have experience on Upwork, I'll start by saying, I'm sorry, I don't have experience. If I was the client and I was looking at a proposal that starts with, I'm sorry, I don't have experience, you wouldn't want to read more. Whereas if it started with, I have 4 years of past experience in this industry, even being outside Upwork, that would be much more interesting to the client. So it's knowing what's important, knowing what's not, and knowing how to organize it in your proposal. That was a long-winded answer.
One thing stood out to me of what you said, like more is not always better, right? More isn't always better. Yeah, thank you for that. So I have one last question for you. So you've been training students on Upwork and they are top rated. What are the common factors for success that you have actually, implemented? If you can share that, common factors that you have seen, over time with from the students you've trained and, from other freelancers as well.
I think it really goes with what I've been talking about. Like, it's I feel like knowing how to position yourself is probably half the battle. So I feel like I really enforce this idea of do your research, because that's what I didn't do, and that's what hurt me in the beginning. So before you write this profile, before you write your next proposal, go and look at both job posts and freelancers profiles and see, like, what are the common words that clients use in their job posts to describe what they're looking for, to describe what they're struggling with, and then start with that. I usually say both on your profile and proposals, focus more on the client than on you. I feel like the common mistake is, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at that. And the client is like, okay, how does that help me though? So knowing what the client is almost feeling at the point that they're looking for help, and knowing how you can position yourself to attract that client in that stage is really important. And obviously also, when I mentioned looking at other freelancers' profiles, is, looking at what they're doing as well, not to copy, but to get inspired and seeing what's possible out there, seeing what type of jobs they're working on, seeing what kind of rates they're going with. That would have been really important for me. And just scoping out like the areas, so what you're getting yourself into, because you don't always know it, and it's totally fine to go at it without any experience in freelancing. But you can do that research before you go into it fully blind, I guess. So that's I would say the most important part that a lot of people skip, and they go directly into writing their profile, and then they say, oh, it doesn't work. Well, you didn't put in the work. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. So that was so insightful, and I'm sure our audience have learned a lot from what you said. I've also learned personally, so I want to say thank you for that. My last question, I have one other question that just popped up. So most of our audience are newbies, right? They are just trying to find their foot in freelancing. It's either they are just starting and, they are finding it so hard to break through the ice, location barrier, language barrier, a lot of barriers, right? So what advice do you have for them? What will you tell them, that would be their breaking point into the world of freelancing?
I would really say both what I said before, do your research, do your homework, but also have something to show. Like, don't just say, let's take the example of a logo designer. Don't just say I can create the best logos, but actually show it. And a lot of people are like, oh, but I've never worked with a client before. And I'm like, you either have past work experience, personal projects, school projects, or you can literally make up a client, like a client that you made up in your mind, and you create a logo for them. Like, it baffles me how much people say they don't have experience and that they can't get clients without getting the experience, but they're not willing to go that extra mile and get that experience. So there's actually a website. I don't remember what it is, but I think it's like fakeclients.com or something like that. Wow. That they generate you a fictional client for you to do work for. Or you can ask ChatGPT, you can make up a fake client, you can do anything like that. So you have something to show, because it's totally different to say, I can do a logo for you, and to show the logos you've done. And also with that comes testimonials as well. That's helpful to have. Obviously, those you have to work with a real person, but you can work with beta clients. You can, offer your service for free or for a discount for like a family or friend, a family member or friend. In return for that testimonial, in return to use that on your portfolio, just make sure that's not like, it doesn't last for very long, right? Like, for example, a logo is something you can do once, but if I, as a social media manager, were to do that, I would do it for max a month. I wouldn't do it for like 6 months for free or for a discount, because you really want to get the experience, get the testimonial, get the work samples, and then go ahead and show that to actual paying clients.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I'm blessed because I've learned, right? I'm also a freelancer on Upwork, so I've picked one or two from what you said, and I'm sure our audience still have numerous questions for you. So please, if you have questions for Silvia, kindly jot it down. We'll be taking questions at the end of the session. Or would you love your questions now or at the end of the session?
It's either or for me.
Okay, so kindly jot your questions, right? Before the next speaker comes, kindly jot your questions that you have for Silvia, and she'll be taking it at the end of the session. Thank you. So your social media handles, right? Can you share that so that our audience can actually follow you? So,
yeah, I'll put them in the chat. Is that okay? So it's easier.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So connect with Silvia on social media. She'll be dropping our social media handles on the chat. So kindly check there and follow her on all social media. And thank you so much, Silvia. Thank you for everything you shared. I learned a lot. I'm sure our audience too did the same. So I really want to appreciate you for your time. Thank you once again. Okay, I've seen it. Okay, I think we have a question, but so we'll be taking the questions at the end of this session. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Silvia. We're going on to the next speaker so that we don't waste any of your time. All right. Wow. This is going great so far. Oh my God. I'm so pumped, and I'm actually anxious to hear what Cynthia has to say. This is the best part, right? So I'm just open-minded, and I'm sure everyone has their pen and papers ready. Please, if you don't have your pen and paper, go and get it now, because you are going to be listening to things that will change your life, right? So I'll be introducing Cynthia now. Cynthia, are you there? Okay, I can see you.
Please call me Cyndi. Only my dentist calls me Cynthia.
All right, that's fine. Cyndi is perfect. That's perfect. So Cyndi, Ascent did I pronounce your name well, please?
Yeah, Cyndi Zaweski. Zaweski, yeah, Polish last name I married into. It's a tough one.
Wow, perfect. So she's a brand strategist and a content writer. She's known for her consistency in sharing strategies and also helping businesses build their brand on social media. She's also into copywriting and content marketing, right? So I met Cyndi first on Instagram. Helpful tips on how to build your social media handle. So I was like really following up. So sorry, that's my baby girl. So sorry. So sorry. So I met her on Instagram, right? And I followed that tips to build my social media profile before I handed over to Florence. So Cindy, did I do a good job introducing you?
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up. That is pretty much what I do. I've been in the media industry and publishing for 13 years. I actually started as a journalist. I worked for NBC and CBS at small affiliate stations, like very, very small stations, not like the big time news, what you see, like really local reporting, community journalism. And I did everything because you had to. I wrote my own scripts. I did my own video. And then one part of my job was that I was a news producer. So I got to pick what news went into the newscast and how we would present it. And back then, believe it or not, that was when Facebook just started to allow businesses to post. Before that, it was just limited to college kids. And so I started working literally probably 6 months after they started allowing that. And of course, we had to all figure that out together. So I learned on the job to put out these news stories, and then I'd get feedback like almost instantly, which was really, really awesome. I'd never experienced that before with my writing. Usually you have to wait for it to get published. And then, maybe if somebody writes in, they comment on your story, that's really nice. But most people didn't do that. But on social media, they would comment and they would ask questions. And that was really great for me, especially being in a small town when I was doing this, because we didn't want the 5 o'clock news to be the same as the 6 o'clock news, but it's not like we had a ton of breaking news out in, Alexandria, Louisiana. Like we were really trying to make the most out of the town bake sale. And they would be, and then readers would ask questions on social media, and then we could change the content around to make it more interesting for the next show. And that's really how I started getting into it. And eventually I ended my career actually on the magazine side. I was the executive editor of a lifestyles magazine, and I really focused on branded content, which is kind of like it's content that is for brands, and it's intended to promote a service, but it's not a traditional advertising thing. Like it was like, how does this product fit into our lives and how do we highlight it? And the advertisers would pay for it, but it wouldn't be a traditional ad. And honestly, that's a lot of what I do now. I just do it for businesses now. I ended up going back to school. I got my master's from Columbia in digital marketing, and I left during the pandemic. I was just done with corporate life, and I was ready to go out on my own. And when I started, I definitely made a ton of mistakes, but one thing that I got right was to reach out to my network. And I was just like, hi, I'm leaving corporate. This is what I'm doing now. Do you know anybody who knows anybody who needs me? And people showed up for that. I got a couple clients that way. I was able to bring people in the door and build that portfolio that Silvia was talking about, just saying that you can do a logo, but actually have a logo and have a client and have a testimonial. So I put that on a website, and I was able to show people what I was doing. And that really helped me when I started out, because I could create demand for my services if I put it on my website and I started showing up on social media. And what I did from there was every single time a service would have a wait list of 3 people, I would take it as a sign to go back, rework the package and make it more streamlined and get rid of things that weren't working, and then up the price on it. So every 3 or so months, I would just be reorganizing, making it better, and then upping the price. But I definitely didn't know what to charge when I first started. I think I was charging $60 for a blog. I had a master's degree, and I'm charging $60 for a blog, but I really didn't know. I just had no idea. And I really wish that I did more stuff like this. I wish that I had networked more. I wish I talked to freelancers more, because I didn't really know any freelancers other than freelance journalists, which was different. I've had friends who worked for Nat Geo, and then Nat Geo would pay them, and they would go to Australia and take pictures and stuff, but like that wasn't what I was doing. That was totally different. So I didn't have any idea. I didn't really know anybody doing stuff like this. So I wish I joined network groups sooner. And I think it's such a powerful thing when we all talk together, because there's no like governing agency and there's no standardization for what we should be charging and what we should be doing. So we have to come together and we have to say like, oh, okay, like this, like we should not be charging $5 an hour ever. Like we're always worth more than $5 an hour. So let's just like raise the floor almost and just be like, this is our standard now as freelancers, and to talk and to figure out like what's like, to learn those things like red flags from clients and things that you will just not know until you have to handle it. And I think having a community and being able to talk to people has been incredibly helpful. Like I've used social media for that. I've used Instagram for that, to connect with other people in my industry, not just clients, because like I said, like I always said, I'm good at what I do. Like the actual deliverable that you get will be good. But like running the business side and figuring out how much to charge and figuring out how to write a proposal and all of that stuff, I was totally foreign to me. And I really learned a lot just by talking to other people and how they did it and how they figured it out. And that was, just kind of learning how to do it. Like Silvia said, like kind of learning on the job a little bit, how to make it all work and make it all flow together. And it's definitely a learning curve. But I think that when you have people who have gone before you that aren't scared to answer questions for you, or, I think like what's a great thing is just that like if you reach out to somebody and they are in a position to help you, people are usually so happy to help you. If they can help you, they usually want to. So I would definitely say reach out to people. Don't be afraid to ask questions and learn. And like everybody starts at zero. Nobody really knows what they're doing. And the way that we do that is just to learn from other people who are doing it better than we are at the time.
You have a really, really rich portfolio. Wow. So from what I could pick, right, you really focus on personal branding, which I see like a lot of freelancers make that mistake. They don't, especially if you're using a third-party freelance site like Upwork, right? They don't take out time to build their personal brand, right? So how would you advise freelancers to build their personal brand and, make themselves the business, right? To attract clients, not depending solely on third-party sites or freelance marketplaces, but just, attracting clients to themselves like you did.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's total game changer when you don't always have to submit your resume and people want to work with you. And like, I remember when that happened for me and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And again, it's kind of like, you want to build your brand and you want to build a digital home for yourself. Like just, even if it's just a small website, there's so many like Wix or Squarespace, they're cheap. I think some of them are like $0. And all you really have to do is just put together a homepage and about page, a portfolio, and a contact page. You don't have to go crazy with it. You can make it as minimal or as maximal as you want. It's more of just like, you want to get established. You just want to show that you have a presence, maybe outside of Upwork or anything like that, where all your stuff could live. So you could kind of just show, like if a client wants to see some examples, you can send them over to your portfolio. And I think that really helps. It just adds like a credibility to it. And it takes not too long to set up, and it'll always serve you well. Like it'll always be a body of work for you to stand on, which I really, I think makes it so much easier to get clients when you can be like, here are things that I do. If you like this kind of thing, then you're going to like working with me. I think that makes it easier to make that sell too. And I don't like a hard sale and I hate getting on sales calls. But if I could show them what I do and this is who I am and this is how I work, are we a fit? Like it feels a lot better. Like I'm much happier to talk about how great my work is than how great like my experiences or like anything like that. So I think that really helps make it easier for a client to say yes. And and again, like Silvia said, it's like starting out with research, like a personal brand is you and your brand, like your values, the way that you talk to people, your processes, the way that you do things, your mission, like, why you want to do what you do. And then it's your audience, right? Like what do they need? Where are they at? Where do your skill set match their needs? And then like putting it together on a website or through social media, like it's that intersection is really what we're going for. Planning things out too, as in that way has just been so helpful, because having just a consistent online presence. And I also do social media too. So like, I sort of always thought of it as like my calling card. It's like, if I was going to offer social media services to you, I can't just say, oh, being consistent on social media is key. Like I have to show up consistently. Like I have to practice what I preach. I have to show you that I'm not just telling you what to do. Like I do it myself as well. And I understand that struggle of showing up consistency. And I know how hard it is to do, but like we found systems that work, and like I've been doing it, and we can get you there too. I definitely love that practice what you preach mentality, or so they say. But I also think that one thing that really helped me going in, and it also helped me like with pricing too, was getting a good sense of how much money I needed to bring in a month. When I left my corporate job, I was like, I will take anybody with a pulse and a credit card who can pay on time. And then after basically like a few weeks of that, I was like, this is chaos. And knowing how much money I had to bring in and how much money I wanted to save really helped me figure out the types of clients I wanted to work with, because I knew I wasn't working with clients whose budget was $100. And that changed the way that I wrote my copy, and it changed the imagery that I use. And it's like you have to meet the market where they're at, right? So that research is so important. It's like, what's your client struggling with? Like, what's their ideal? Like, what's their budget? Like, who are they? I think all those things really add up to what you put out there and like the finished product of a personal brand.
Wow. I'm actually speechless because I picked something so important to this phase of my life right now. Like you just shared something that really stood out to me. Your pricing strategy, like balancing what you need for the month and how much you need to save, then you use that to charge. So I think freelancers that are here should actually pick that. Oh, Ascent, did you hear that? So thank you so much for sharing that. It's really insightful. So I want my other question for you is starting out, right? You mentioned some mistakes that you made, right? But I would love you to elaborate on the potholes, the things that were like limitations for you, that did not allow you to really break into freelancing so easy, or why you started the way you started, if there were bottlenecks, all those. So if you could shed more light on that so that other freelancers can actually avoid it and, get to their destination faster.
Yeah, I definitely think I definitely should have done more research first. Like I always say, like target market, like audience research is probably the biggest thing. And again, then I would have known how to set my prices better, and I would have known how to position myself to be more appealing towards these clients. So, and I just don't think that research is one and done. Like it's kind of like you always want to stay current with like the climate of the market and what your ideal clients are looking for too. So like it's a constant process and an evolution, but really, if I did that earlier, I just would have been more confident in my pricing, and I would have been more confident in saying like, I am worth this price because this is what the market is. And I offered this XYZ thing that's different from other people. I think just being armed with knowledge would have been tremendously helpful in the beginning. I think that, also setting boundaries as far as clients, I know we touched on that, but it's so true, especially when you're starting. Like you're so eager to get the client and you're so eager to do a great job, and you want the freelance career so much that you'll sacrifice, but eventually you will be successful and you will not want to work 24/7 or be the person that's going to be on your phone all the time. And I definitely did this. I like the first year I was basically working around the clock because I had no boundaries with clients. I wanted to serve, I wanted to give the best, but honestly, I realized that when I'm working 24/7, especially if you're a creative freelancer, like a writer or a designer, like all of that, like you need that time for yourself to decompress, to be creative, to do the best work for your client. You cannot be burned out. I literally took me more than a year to really allow that to sink in and allow that to be true, because like I'm such a workhorse. And I think a lot of people who start working for themselves are like, they know that they're going to have to do a lot of work if they're working for themselves. But also understanding that burnout isn't just about you feeling bad. It's like you're going to have poorer work. Your client's not going to be as happy. So respecting your boundaries and having those in place, I just think are so key. And I think what really helped me too was to really list out the boundaries. Like in my proposal or in my process, I wrote like, this is like, I will send you this and you must approve by this date. And then after that, it's like, this will happen. And then that has to be approved by, so we're not going back and forth on a ton of things. Like it's a really streamlined process. Like we break it down for them and we don't do, we don't overwhelm them, but we're like, this is this, this is this, this is this. And that's how we get our clients to stay on track, and it gives us like enough time. Like I have an assistant now, I have an assistant content strategist now who really helps me with the day-to-day when I do the larger work for clients. But back then when I was doing it all for 5 clients, and it was chaos because the clients would send things in at like 5 o'clock on a Friday or 6:30 on a Monday. And it was just all over the place. I couldn't plan my week at all because I was basically dependent on when this work was coming in. And it was utter chaos, and it was really taking a toll on my mental health. So having processes in place, sticking to them, being firm with your boundaries. And for me, if you have to just say like, if I don't have this boundary in place, my work is going to suffer. Like that's what turned the switch in my mind. And I was like, I'm going to deliver bad work if I don't get this together and I don't set this boundary. And that's the last thing I wanted to do is present bad work.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So, being a newbie, you really don't have a lot of flexibility, right? You cannot really choose your clients as it were, because you are trying to gain experience and at the same time you're trying to make money. So you just like all newbies have this feeling to take out any clients that come their way. Let me just start, let me just become a freelancer, like finally. So what advice will you give to newbies concerning boundaries in this scenario? Like you don't have a lot of options, compared to an expert, right? So how can you set your boundaries and profit from it on the long run?
I think really just being upfront, like this is the way we operate. This is the process. I think that if you come to the table as a professional and you say, this is my process, and you explain to them, like, we're going to get all your work done, this is how we're getting your work done, that's actually reassurance for them. I think probably, even now, like, it's hard to hire somebody that you're only meeting online and giving money and, like you only get a snapshot of them. But if you're prepared and you're like, oh, I've done this like before, even if you haven't done it before, but you're like, this is my process for this, like you're in good hands. We're going to check all these boxes and things are going to move smoothly. Like it's almost like a reassurance thing for them as well, that like you kind of have everything together and it's not so random. But I definitely think that being like upfront in the beginning is so key. And it's not about like, these are my boundaries. It's more of like, this is our process and this is how we do things and this is how we get our results. And we're really proud of our process, and it's important that it stays in place, and just being respectful about it, because you want them to respect you too. Like, yes, you're a freelancer and yes, they're hiring you, but here's like probably the biggest gem then, because this is another thing that I really, really struggled with, was when you start working for yourself, getting out of the employee mindset and getting into the CEO mindset, right? So you're not an employee when you're a freelancer, you're coming in as an independent consultant. So they're coming to you for your expertise. So you're an independent contractor, you're not their employee. You can have your own processes, you can have your own ways of doing things, you share that with the client, and you say, like, I'm willing to work with you, like, this is how I like to do it, like, is this how you like to work? It's, you know, it's about being flexible, but like also standing your ground and coming in with that professionalism too, because they'll take that tone from you. Like if you come in prepared and you come in really professionally, then they will, then that's what they're going to react with, right? Like, so getting out of that employee mindset and getting into the CEO role is such a tricky thing for freelancers, but it really is worth putting in the work on that one.
Thank you so much for that. Wow. I never saw it from that perspective. Thank you for sharing that. So I have another question for you. Aside freelance marketplaces, right, and third-party sites, what other avenue can freelancers, especially newbies, right, get clients, good paying clients, right? What other avenue would you advise to?
Definitely those sites are awesome, but I think that the way I started to generate my own leads and create demand for my services was to get out on social media, to start an email newsletter, to have a blog, to like promoting the personal brand, promoting the story, Ascent Storycraft brand, and has truly helped me make it just made it so I wasn't applying for jobs and people were coming to me. That was the biggest thing that shifted that. And I haven't sent a resume in 3 years. I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't, like if I didn't have clients, I would go submit a resume right now and I would have this great portfolio and all of that. I'm not against it. It's just like, because I built the personal brand side of it, I haven't had to.
So freelancers, yeah, actually if you're a newbie, you can take advantage of building your personal brand and, you know, starting out on marketplaces too, on freelance marketplaces. You can just use one stone to hit two birds, like whichever works for you, you know. Thank you so much for that, Cyndi. I really appreciate your everything you have shared, right? So I have another question for you. Now, how do you manage your finances? Freelancers and finances are just, you know, like fire and water.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
That, you know, you are the accountant, you are the sales manager, you are the marketer. Freelancers wear different hats, right? So how do you actually manage your finances and ensure that you are not, you know, staying, you are not earning below what you actually need, right? And you are actually getting opportunities for yourself. So how do you do that?
So for me, and this is important, and I like when I started, like there were some startup costs involved. Like I think I spent like $2,000 out of pocket to like build my website or something like that. Like it was an investment in the long-term health of the brand. So knowing what's a good investment and what's not is really helpful. But like really just on a day-to-day basis, I go by month. Like I got to pay my mortgage. I have to, you know, get groceries. So I'm always like, well, what are the things that I absolutely have to pay for? Like, and then what are the things, like, do I have to set aside for taxes, and what things do I, you know, need to run my business, the softwares I need to use to run my business, like what am I paying for in my business? Like basically what is the money that I need to survive and like do what I'm doing? And then I work backwards from there. Like, and then I'll be like, okay, like if I get 5 clients on retainer, and then that will cover all my basic bills. Or maybe say you get 3 clients on retainer, that covers all your basics. And now you get into workflow with them and your bills are covered. And then like, you're good with them, and then like a month later you start taking on, maybe you can get a coaching client, or maybe you could take on some extra projects, and all of a sudden now you're starting to bring in that extra money. So like for me, what was really helpful was to get retainer clients. It was to get retainer clients right from the start, lock them into contracts of 6 months, and then that allowed me enough freedom to learn without fear of getting fired, right? Because I put them in a contract. And so I was learning to manage the time most of all, like how am I going to get all these clients and then, you know, extra. So now it's like, okay, I have my bread and butter clients. Now I could add on different things. Now maybe I could teach a workshop and, you know, bring in some money that way, or I could sell a digital product and bring in money that way, or I could you know, there's like so many different things that you could offer once you get your bread and butter done. So I would say like getting the bread and butter in there and having some sort of reoccurring revenue stream was wildly helpful for me. I'm all about freelancing, but I want some stability. Like I want stability in my income. I want to know that I could pay my mortgage. So like for me, having retainer clients did that for me. Some people do group coaching and stuff like that, but whatever is really going to get you your bread and butter every month, so you're not sweating your bills and how you're going to pay for everything. And then you could start building out offerings that bring in like profits, like real, like some serious money. And that will be how you structure your time and what you have time for based off of what's left after having your bread and butter. And that's helped me scale. Like, so just having the bill, knowing that the bills are going to be paid is incredibly freeing. So definitely those retainer clients are great.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, different thing works for different people. And I think retainer clients is actually a very, very good idea, you know, to set you off your feet so that you don't panic when the month ends or when your last client pays and you're like, where is my next bill going to come from? So thank you.
I totally agree. I couldn't do that. And I know some freelancers do, and they're cool with it. I would never be okay with it. I would have a heart attack. I need to know, like I have some structure.
Yeah, having a good structure is actually the way out because oh my god, thank you so much for that. So do you have any extra advice for newbies on this session? What you advise them to do, you know, to become experts tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that just investing in yourself, like in terms of like get better at what you do, improve your skill set, do something that improves your skill set every week. I will sit down and I will write 100 headlines like every couple of weeks, just to get into practice. A lot of the stuff that I post on social media is like just things to keep me sharp. Like, here's how I do things. Like, I kind of want people to see inside my process. I don't really want to give away information for free. What I'm really doing is showing them how I solve a problem. And that helps me kind of get my process out there. But it also helps people see what it's like to work with me, which generates demand, and it's great. But I think just doubling down on your skill set. Like, I know that there's a lot out there about niching and whatever. I didn't niche. I still really don't. But like, I've always niched on my skill set. Like, I got better at writing. I got better at content strategy. I got better at storytelling. I got better at all of these things. And then, like, to me, that's always served me well, rather than like, if I had spent 2 years trying to get really good at like content strategy for the beauty business, and then I woke up today and I decided, well, I want to work in finance. Like, I feel like I would have screwed myself if I did that. Or if you invest so much time and you're like, wow, like the beauty business is really not what I want it to be. And now I only have this type of stuff in my portfolio. I like diversifying. I think it's key. People always talk about diversifying your money portfolio. I like to diversify my freelance portfolio. I like to have copywriting samples. I like to have content strategy samples and all of that. That's always been helpful for me, because then I can meet, again, it's just about being able to meet clients where they're at and serve them the best you can. So I definitely say always invest in your skill set.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. So this is the session we are all waiting for. Thank you so much, Cyndi. If you have questions for Cyndi, kindly get them ready now, because we'll be taking questions in the next 1 minute, right? So we don't want to waste any of Cyndi's or Silvia's time. We just want to get this over. So if you have questions, kindly post them on the chat page, and I would actually read it out for them. Okay, so I think there's a question for Silvia here. Okay, Silvia, are you here?
Yeah, I am.
Thank you. So someone sent a question for you. He said, I learned that she tutors freelancer on what skills exactly. So he wants to know what your tutoring is like.
Yeah, so mostly I teach around like Upwork and how to create the different parts of your profile, how to do that research that I talked about, create your profile, create your proposals, find the right jobs, avoid scams, all that good stuff. I talk about it every single day. And sometimes I do content mostly on YouTube about specifically like more geared towards social media managers. But the bulk of my content is Upwork related.
Okay, so that's that. Guys, please keep your questions coming. Please, we'll soon end the session, and I don't want you to miss out of learning from Cynthia and from Cyndi rather, and Silvia. Okay, so I think they are preparing that.
Okay, okay. I have questions for Silvia. Basically, so what were the mistakes you notice? You've been training a lot of freelancers. So what were the mistakes you notice most freelancers make?
I think we kind of talked about some. I think the main one is like talking too much about yourself and too little about the client. Just because every time you mention something about yourself, you should tie it back to how it helps the client. Like, for example, I don't always mention my degree, for example. I don't think it's relevant for the most part. But whenever I do, I tie it back to like how it can help me edit their videos better, for example. So always tying back in your experience with what it helps the client do.
Thank you.
Someone asked, like, what do you think one should do to attract a client to view your proposal? And it's what I talked about before, is like really focus on the first 1 or 2 lines of your proposal. Like in social media, we call it a hook, something to grab people's attention and make them want to read more. So you want to start your proposals with that, and then don't blabber on for too long. You give them what's most important to share with them, and maybe include like a portfolio item. You can attach it to your proposal, and then leave the rest for them to look up on your profile or to reach out to you via Upwork. Oh, it's also a good idea to include like a call to action for them to message you with any questions or book a call with you or something like that, just to keep the conversation going and to get those responses.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, another question. Are there any red flags that you've missed? Maybe when you started as a newbie, clients you worked with that you did not like the experience, or what were the red flags now that you're more experienced?
I find that apart from obviously scams, the main red flag from legitimate clients that I look for is them being too demanding. Usually you can find clients that have like a list of all these different things they want you to do, and they want you to deliver everything really quickly. And those clients tend to be really hard to please. A funny thing I find is like the cheaper clients tend to be the hardest ones to please, and you need to, do endless revisions for them, which is ironic. But that's the main thing I think I look for, is really if they are going to be too demanding. I think that's the main thing that will cause trouble, will cause them to be unhappy, leave a bad review, and drag the project on for too long.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, I think my next question goes to Cyndi now, or she said she prefers
Mhm.
Cyndi. So Cyndi, if as a newbie, now I think you've talked about it while you're talking. As a newbie freelancer, what are the number one, or what are the 3 tips you're going to advise a newbie freelancer on branding themselves? You know, I'm a newbie, I'm starting freelancing today. How should I brand myself?
First, I would definitely start with your skill set, what you bring to the table. I would talk about, you want to kind of figure out your brand statement. So a brand statement is essentially what you do, like what transformation you provide. Like I'm a copywriter, right? So you come to me, you're going, like the transformation is that I'm going to put your words into a really great sales page. So that's it. Like you're going to be seen and heard. That's my transformation. And I want to say, like, this is what I do. This is how I do it. And this is who I do it for. That's a brand statement. So getting clear on that is really good, because that will also help you stay in your lane too. So you're not like, if you're like me, I get like the shiny object syndrome sometimes. And I'm like, oh, like, well, I could do that. I could do the other thing. So I always kind of come back to that. Like, what am I really good at doing? Like I always hear a lot about ideal clients and how people, like, this is your ideal client or whatever. And I'm all for a marketing persona, and we definitely do them here at Ascent, but really the ideal client and your ability to get clients is really just to say, like, who does your skill set best serve? Like, in your ideal, like, who is the ideal person that would benefit from this service? And like, that's the person that I'm keeping in mind. Like, I always want to be talking to that person. I want to be showcasing my skill set, and like, really, like what Silvia said, like just showcasing your skill set in a light that's going to make them be like, you're the person for me. So I'm always like coming at it from their perspective with that. And then I would absolutely set up a website. I would get on social media. I would start posting about, your knowledge and sharing some tips, sharing the unique ways that you do things, like to make you stand out from another freelancer. Maybe like I'm one of like a gajillion copywriters out there, but like, I think what I do really well is I take the time to write content that shows that I'm really good at capturing your voice. So I talk about things like how to do empathetic marketing and how to write copy for social media. And I think those kind of things, like, yes, I'm teaching on it. And yeah, a lot of people could read it and pick something up. But really what it says to the client is like, this is what I do for you. Like when you come to me, I'm going to be able to capture your voice. So I always thought that was my unique proposition. And I always wanted to really hammer that home, that like, when you work with me, like, I will put your words into something that will sell, and it's going to sound like you. So really hammering home like what you do best and who you best serve it for, putting that on social media, having your presence, and talking to people. I really cannot stress enough like the importance of like kind of like having a community. If you want to build a community and you really want to have a strong personal brand, and it's something that you want to build like a business on, the business foundation, like building community around your messaging, building community around the kind of content that you're putting out in the world is just hugely helpful. It's hugely helpful to getting clients and getting buy-in. And, it's also really good for us because we tend to work alone and we tend to be in front of our computer screens all day. So it's really nice to just have a community that you could build around as well when you're getting your content out there. I definitely think it's very important to be putting out content and establishing yourself like outside of like the Upwork space. Like you want to be trustworthy and stand on your own.
So thank you very much, Cyndi. I think my next question is gonna go to both you guys, Silvia and Cyndi. So what's your position on paid test jobs? Paid test jobs, like when clients meet you.
I think they need to be paid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do a test job if it was free, unless it was initiated by me. If I was to like do them a little audit or something like that, I could initiate that for free, just a little something. But I don't take unpaid test jobs.
Okay, what do you think, Cynthia? Cyndi?
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely the same page as you. Like I think it's one thing, like if you're really just starting out and you really need some experience and like you want to, do 1 or 2 tests, but don't let it get beyond that. Like you do need to get paid for your work. Like honestly, when I think of red flags for clients, my first red flag for a client is somebody who's going to try to negotiate price too much with me. Because honestly, because I've done the research, I know like where I stand in the market. I know that I'm fairly priced. And if you're immediately starting to like ask for something for free, or you're going back and forth on me, like I know that we're not going to work, because I know that you clearly don't value what I'm doing for you. So it's going to be hard for us to come to some sort of mutual respect. So like for me, that's a red flag. I won't really work with people who like negotiate too much on price.
Thank you very much.
At all on price. I just wouldn't.
Thank you. I think we have some questions here. Is it advisable to share in your proposal that you would love to volunteer for a role? I think you covered that, initiating the paid role. I think Silvia covered that.
Yeah, I'm answering some questions in the chat actually.
Oh, thanks. Another one says, is it compulsory to attach portfolios or videos in your proposals? I think Silvia mentioned that at the beginning of our session.
I don't think it's needed. I said this to the person, but like it's not needed, but it's really, really important and it helps a lot. So if you want to stand out.
Yeah. Okay, so for the sake of time, I think we've spent over an hour here already. So I think I'll just ask you guys to just give us your your final statements. What do you have to say for newbie freelancers, for mid-level freelancers, for expert freelancers? What do you have to say?
I think for those just starting out, I think it's really like putting in the effort in the beginning. I know it can be hard to justify if you're like not sure if it will work, but block off like an afternoon, like just a couple hours to really do that research that we talked about and really start off on the right foot. Because I think if you don't start with those foundations, it will be much harder and you'll see many more obstacles and you'll want to give up. And the other thing is don't give up because you'll inevitably want to do it and, it's not going to take you anywhere. But yeah.
Thanks, Silvia. How about Cyndi?
Yeah, I definitely would say, applied knowledge is power. So really doing the research, like figuring out like who you are within the larger market and like what you bring to the table, because being able to communicate that to a client concisely is basically the best thing that you could do for yourself. If you could come in confidently priced, confidently like, this is what I can do for you. You are going to get a result when you work with me. That makes you way more confident going into a pitch or going into an application process. And arm yourself with that knowledge, get better at your skill set. And I think that like every freelancer, every person who's ever worked for themselves at some point wants to pull out their hair or cry or whatever. Like we've all been in that spot. So again, having like community, knowing other people who are freelancers, even just to vent to or be like, I'm having this crazy client. Like we've all been there. Like we've all had those clients. We've all like had those moments of like, what am I doing here? So like just connecting yourself with others and saying, it's hard. It's like a mental game too. So just taking care of yourself is so important. And I think pursuing your passion and what you love and investing in your skill set, like, and bringing that to the world, it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you very much, Cyndi. Ara, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I do. Cyndi, please, can you drop your social handles so that our audience can follow you on social media? Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Sincerely, we really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your knowledge, your expertise with our audience. I'm so sure they are going to make perfect use of it. So if you have more questions, kindly send them to follow both Cynthia and Silvia on social media. Okay, she just dropped it. So you can follow her on social media on Instagram, and she dropped our website too. So you can send them a direct message on social media. And I think we've come to the end of this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Silvia. We hope to do this again. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you should also follow my Freelance HQ, the
Yes,
organizer
please.
of this program. So you can follow us on, sorry for cutting you, Ara. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, on Facebook, my Freelance headquarters. Ara is one of our lead moderators and one of our lead community manager. She wears many hats. And yeah, so basically, yeah. So Ara, please.
Thank you so much once again. I really do hope we do this again. Like, I want to hear you speak again. It has been wonderful and it's been so awesome. I hope you have a nice evening or day. I do not know what time it is over there.
Morning.
It's evening here.
It's morning over there.
Yeah, okay. Have a nice day. Have a nice day.
Morning.
Enjoy the rest
It's
of
like
your
6 p.m.
day. All right.
Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.